Good morning, sports fans. This is George with Custom Tide Flies and Guide Service. And this morning, boys and girls, we are going to be building the Dahlberg Diver. That's this guy right here. Okay. This is a super great pattern. Excuse me, developed by a guy named Larry Dahlberg in the 70s, I think. Excuse me. This platform can be used for bass, trout, in saltwater. It's very diverse. Excuse me. Its principal ingredients are the hook is it's a stinger hook, and this one is in a size 2. I'm using the Fulling Mills 6040 stinger hook in a size 2. I'm using Olive Danville Flymaster. I'm using both the 210 denier and the 140 denier for different parts of the fly. The head is olive spun deer belly hair. The tail is there was a lot of stuff in the tail. It starts off with yellow Marabou, and then there's some gold holographic Flashabou, and there's some pearl Flashabou, and then there's some gold Polarflash. Excuse me. And then it ends with some olive Marabou, and then some olive grizzly flatwing feathers. And the collar is olive spun deer belly hair, but it's longer, and I'll show you that here in a minute. So first things first, this is weedless. So I'm using Zebco Omniflex in a 30-pound, so that I can make a nice weedless, and I trim it to pieces that are about 4 inches long. It's comes out long when it's time to trim it, but it's better to be too long than to be too short. So I've pinched down my barb already, and mount my hook in a vise. I'm going to start a thread base about halfway down the shank. And then following the natural curve of this piece of mono, I'm going to sit it on top, take a couple wraps to make sure it's on there pretty good, and then just lash it to the top of the shank and down the bend. You can put 2 weed guards on here. You can put a weed guard in the front instead of across the back. I mean, like I'm all the time saying, it's tyrant's discretion. You're the guy behind the vice. Then I'm going to paint that with head cement. And I'm going to set that off to the side to dry. So here's one that I've collected from where I had built them before. Now I'm going to use the Flymaster 140. I'm getting tied in. I'm using strung yellow Marabou. Ordinarily, I lay these out because you don't want to use a feather like that. And then this one would be too thin. You kind of got to pick and choose. That one's not too bad. That one's terrible. That one's too thin. That one's not too bad. I think I'll use that one. Now you want this to be a little better than a shank length, like you want to try not to get a bunch of thread or whatever up in this part, because this is where you're going to start spinning your head. Oh, I forgot to mention the squirrel that goes in this. No, there's not squirrel in this. Never mind, that was the last fly. It's early in the morning. Let me get a cup of coffee here. Okay, so the next thing is the holographic Flashabou. And you want 8 strands. And to collect strands, see, I put this little notch in the side of the card, and that way I can just slide my strands over there to be out of the way while I collect them. Find the halfway point. And fold it over like that. And you fold it over the thread. And you take your thumb and push down across the back of the shank, and that'll spread the fibers out. Sorry, that was my wife's tea water. Okay, so next is the pearl Flashabou. You want 6 strands of this. This is a little stiffer than the holographic. Put it on the far side. Take a couple of wraps and bring it down the near side. And you can kind of hold it in place while you finish lashing it on. And you want those tips to be even with the gold Flashabou. Okay, now the gold Polarflash. You're going to want about, I don't know, 15 or 20 strands of this because it's so thin. I don't really count these though. I just kind of grab a clump of them. And you're going to do the same thing with these that you did with the holographic. Fold it over the middle and then push down with your thumb. And go back here and trim them off, even with the rest of them. Okay, now comes the olive Marabou. So again, strung Marabou, and you want kind of a fluffy end, something like what you would use on a woolly booger, something like that. You need 2 of those. Ugh. That'll work. and that goes on the side. Then you do the same thing on the near side. Make sure you match them up. And then is your grizzly flat wing. So I get my feathers from Ewing Hackle. You're looking for something with a little length and something with a little bit of a wide base. You need 4. So a little bit of length, a little bit of wide base. And you find them towards the bottom and the sides of the pelt. You find them down in this part of the pelt. Okay, now with a deceiver, you put the concave side out, but with this, you're going to put the shiny side out. And you just put them together like that, with the shiny side out. Sometimes they'll flip on you. Then you do a hand whip. Then you paint that with head cement. Make sure you get a good bit in there because it's got to soak all the way in through. And you put that off to the side to dry. Oh. And that's what it looks like when it's dry. Now I'm going to start spinning the hair, so I'm going to need the 210 denier. Now the first couple pieces here is not so much spun as it is stacked. So get tied in. And you want your longer hairs. I got my spring-loaded deer hair scissors. Get a clump about the size of a pencil, about the thickness of a pencil. And you want a couple of soft wraps, and then you're going to spread that around the shank. Then you can reef down on it. Pull that back out of the way. You want to do the same thing with the next clump. Only you want the stiffer ends to be a little longer. Because that's what's going to make the back part of the collar. Once you get out past the bend, or past the point, then you're going to start putting it on the top and on the bottom. So you put your 2 soft wraps on there, spread that around, and roll your hook over. Take you 2 more soft wraps, spread that around, and go ahead and reef down on it. And that'll bring you up to the end of the tie down point for the tail. Now you're going to switch to the shorter hair. Sorry for the pause there, folks. My missus came out and I had to give her my undivided attention. I have discovered that if I don't give my missus my undivided attention, things do not work out well for me throughout the day. I'm a very fortunate man. My wife puts the zing in amazing. She actually ties flies too. Oh, she used to. And she fly fishes. Now, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm packing the hair on with my brass hair packer. You don't have to use a brass hair packer, though. You can use the shell of an ink pen. I'll show you that here in a second. Well, that one wanted to take off right away. Getting close. So you got this ink pen. You can pull this quill out, and you got that. You can use that as a hair packer. It'll slide right over top of the shank. But I like to use the brass hair packer. I think it does a better job, and it's flat across the face, so it doesn't cut the hair as much as using the inkwell. You want to leave yourself a little space between the front of the hair and the eye so that you got some place that you can tie your weedless. So I could probably get one more thin one here. Yep. I'm going to use a 5 3 whip finish. Get a little head cement on there. All right. Now it's ready to be steamed. This is what they look like after they've been steamed. See how the hair is all fluffed out? So now you got to start the trimming process. Now I'm going to open this screen up some more so you can see the trimming process. I find the place on the hair where I just have this collar part laying back. Then I start at the eye, and you see the difference in height right between here and here. I am going to put a muddler type head with the back of it up in here. And so that's the angle that I'm going for. And then I just trim away everything that doesn't look like a muddler head. That's a start. That's a good start. That's a good start. I just stay on that angle, and I start getting up into the collar part. Now on the bottom part here, you don't want anything really getting past the bend. So you just chop that stuff off flat. Then these real tall ones right along in here, you just chop them off even with the collar, trying very hard not to chop up your marabou. You pull that down out of the way so you don't worry about chopping it off. You want to kind of have an even collar, so you look at it from the front. Trim it accordingly. You also want to kind of have it an even width, so look at it from the top and make sure that the width of it is even. All right, now that you got that part done, then you take the fine razor blade and you just kind of smooth the rough edges of the hair head out. Shaping as you go. All right, now it's time to put the Weedguard in place. Back to your 140 denier. You might have to push your head back, or the nose back a little bit, so that you got room to get your thread in. Then you're going to take your little piece of 30-pound mono and put it up through. Then bring your mono up so that you have about 1/8 of an inch between the mono and the point of the hook. And I usually take, I don't know, 6 or 7 wraps, and then take your 30-pound mono and put it back down through the eye. Take a couple more wraps, turn it over, pull back on it a little bit, trim it off. You want to try not to crowd your eye. And then the 5 and 3 whip finish. And there you have it, Dahlberg Diver. If you liked what you saw here, please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can find this and other information on my virtual fly shop on Facebook. It's Custom Tires 02. That's CUSTOMTYER 02. You can also find more fly type tutorials on the virtual fly shop's website, which is www.custom-tide.com. That's CUSTOM-TIED.com. Have a splash, don't forget the dash. So again, this has been the Dahlberg Diver. This is George Hammond with Custom Tide. Happy tying.